Hello, fellow marketers. I'm Brian Bowie, and welcome to another episode of Directive R&D. In today's lab, I have a special guest, Josh Nelson, who's our paid media manager at Directive. Welcome, Josh, to the show.
Hey, how's it going? Thanks for having me in the lab.
No, super excited to bring you on today and talk about Google Ads and keyword match types. So today's topic is about how to use broad match keywords the right way in Google Ads. It's all the craze right now. We heard about the news like just this week, pretty much about broad match modified being sunsetted this February. Is that right?
Yeah, sometime later down the line, yeah.
That's wild. So, you and I who have been in the game for a little bit really relied on that match type to expand our reach. And now more so than ever, I think PPC specialists and experts here need to figure out ways to use broad match keywords in their strategy the right way. So wanted to give some backstory to something we've been working on with clients over the years of how over the years, we've seen average CPCs consistently rise and become more competitive, right? And if your conversion rates don't match up to that same pace of the increase and rise, your cost per acquisition is naturally going to keep going up, and it becomes less efficient to pull in the qualified leads and revenue that you want, especially in the SaaS space. So we found a new solution, and Josh kind of led up this new tactic we use called Smart Broad. We have a guide all about it, so I'll make sure to link it in this post. But Josh, I'm gonna let you take it away a little bit, and I'm gonna ask you some questions around Smart Broad so the audience has a better feel for what they are, how to use it. And yeah, so I'm gonna share my screen. We have a little bit of a diagrams to go through, but cool. You see my screen all right?
Yeah, I could see it.
Cool. So what is Smart Broad? And can you explain a little bit of the different match types and why? You can kind of ignore that broad modified because that's not going to be relevant. But yeah, what are Smart Broads?
Yeah, so smart broads, they're essentially a tactic or a campaign type that leverage broad keywords in a smart fashion, hence the name smart broads. Um, but really at its core, what it's doing is it's leveraging more of the AI power and the machine learning smart solutions that Google has
Mm-hmm.
in order for us to kind of future-proof accounts. And it's even more important now that they're sunsetting broad mod. We can kind of expect more keyword changes like this to happen. So this is definitely a way to future-proof your account in that sense. So um, really what it's trying to get to is taking a broad keyword, and instead of relying on exact match or a phrase match or a broad mod to get to the certain relevancy that you want, we
Mm-hmm.
lean more on a smart bidding algorithm to get that relevancy. So by pairing a broad keyword with smart bidding, you should theoretically get the high intent sort of queries that you wouldn't think that you would get with a broad keyword.
Got it. That makes sense. Let me jump to the next slide. I know you mentioned a little bit of the smart bidding factors. And for listeners, it's not like a campaign type inside your account. We kind of just labeled it and branded it as Smart Broad, just as a FYI. But can you tell me a little about smart bidding and what we're seeing here?
Yeah, so smart bidding, it's one of the free sort of solutions that you have in Google Ads.
Mm-hmm.
In this particular sort of tactic with smart broads, we like to use target CPA over like max conversions or any of those other sorts of bid strategies. We just found that the performance is much better.
Mm-hmm.
But really what it is, like smart bidding 101, it's taking all the data that Google has on its users, and it's a lot of data. They're essentially smart or Skynet nowadays. So
Mm-hmm.
um, all the data that they have on users, they're factoring that in to the bid algorithm. So if somebody is searching HR software or best HR software,
Right.
and they have a smart bidding attached to it, it's going to look back and see, has this person visited any HR software websites? Have they watched any YouTube videos? And they're going to take that all into consideration when they assign your bid. And with target CPA, that brings efficiency to these campaigns, because with broad keywords, there's a lot of different sorts of queries that you could match up with, especially if you're running on maximum conversions.
Yeah.
That target CPA kind of makes the broad keywords live in a little box, making sure that the the bidding algorithms aren't going too high that it becomes unprofitable for us,
Yeah.
and just makes it a much more smart sort of rollout.
That makes sense. It's not just Google tracking, user behavior, but also like what's happening in your existing AdWords account, right? So more data you have, they have more data points to optimize towards. Is that correct?
Exactly. Yeah. So you got to have data to feed the algorithms back in order for it to learn over time. And over time, it's going to get stronger and stronger. And the more data that you could feed the machines, the smarter that those machines are going to get.
Cool. So I'm gonna jump to the next diagram we have. I think it helps with a little bit of your explanation of combining these different technologies and settings and options you have within Google Ads to like still maintain high quality, relevant traffic. And then we can talk about like tips on how to use it within your account. But can you explain to me a little bit of the diagram on the left on the campaign setup for like a smart broad campaign?
Yeah. So what it's basically outlining is the different steps and the different levers that we're pulling in order to get as high of an intent as possible. So starting off with queries that are going to be coming from broad keywords. When you're selecting your broad keywords, try to have it be more of the long tail sort of variations. HR software, I wouldn't run that out. Run some sort of like HR onboarding software, or
Right. At least like 3 or 4 terms, right? Or something like that.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Like around 4 terms is kind of where the money's at. But once you have those terms, go ahead and add in any negative keywords that you already have added into your account. You could also do any sort of like preliminary negative keyword research just to get ahead of the curve and just anticipate what sort of queries might come up with broad keywords. And then one thing that we like to have just kind of on the back burner is an in-market audience for whatever your industry is. So we don't really launch the campaigns with these, but it's a fallback if the bid algorithm and the broad keywords and negative keywords aren't doing enough to get the sort of keywords that we want, then throwing in an in-market audience and switching your campaigns to target only those people in those audiences, that seems to work out and get as high of an intent as possible. And then the next one down, it's going to be queries with the target CPA bidding. We went over that previously, so we kind of get the whole idea on that stuff. But that takes care of everything on the pre-click side of things. And one of the more important things across not just smart broad campaigns, but any campaigns, is to have that pre-qualifying ad copy to make sure that whoever that persona is that you're trying to get in front of, that you're speaking directly to them, and you're kind of just making it as appealing as possible to these people so that you'll have high click-through rates with those guys.
That makes sense. Anything like if you're serving only SMB or enterprise or something like that, you try to put that in the copy, right?
Yeah.
Cool. So for the listeners, I think the whole concept behind smart broad, it's not just using broad keywords, because I don't think we'd ever recommend that, just blindly using them. And then you have to use it in a way, kind of in this format that we've been talking about, in a combination of different targeting settings and different options you have to make it work. Is that right?
Yeah, correct.
Okay. Also, another question. So for people who've been in paid search for a long time, this idea of automation and giving Google more control versus your own control can be kind of scary. Would you recommend just doing smart broad, or would you also recommend having like other campaigns that are more controlled and just separate from these?
definitely have other campaigns that are more controlled. This is a sort of add-on, and it kind of helps future-proof the account.
Okay.
One nice way for this to kind of blend in with your existing account or existing campaigns is if you're running any sort of like alpha beta sort of setup, you can
Hmm.
treat these smart broads as that beta, and then as you start to get queries that are top performing, take those out an exact match and then put them into an alpha campaign and run those so that you can get top impression share on those top queries.
That makes sense. How would you say for people trying this to continue optimizing the campaign? You know, they launch it, they're excited about it. Maybe they're not seeing the results they want from it right away, but how can they get there?
Yeah, so just treat it like you would any other sorts of campaign. So keep a close eye on the search term reports,
Hmm.
um, and just optimize like you would optimize any other campaign.
Right. Your
If you're
ad
having
copy.
a Yeah, if you're having a hard time with the search queries, always remember that you do have that lever in your back pocket with adding in the in-market audience as target only. So
Right.
um, that would be like a last case scenario. But like what you were alluding to earlier, ad copy, changing up the landing page experience too.
Hmm.
Um, the the post click side of things is important as well. So don't skip over that. But yeah, overall, it's just a regular campaign, just a different sort of setup.
Cool. That makes sense. Now we're going to jump into results, right? Because we tried this whole thing. Sounds a little cool, right? And fun. And but does it work? We have this chart on the right. Can you explain that a little bit of what's smart broad versus traditional?
Yeah, totally. So Smart Broad are these campaigns, and traditionals are just the regular sorts of campaigns that you would have set up. So like single keyword ad groups, having multiple queries within ad groups and stuff like that. Just
Right.
that sort of campaign.
Hmm.
So what we did was actually in 2020 during COVID, we
Hmm.
tested this. So
Okay.
it's COVID proof. Um, and yeah, we ran it for about a quarter, a few months, and these are the results.
And
CPCs,
this
yeah,
is
this
for like
is
multiple accounts, right? Not just one.
yeah, multiple accounts, B2B
Hmm.
SaaS. So CPCs were a lot lower. And because we're using broad keywords and that target CPA, mostly the target CPA, the smart bidding side of things,
Hmm.
we were able to get those lower CPCs, which ultimately led to that lower CPA as well.
Makes sense. It's not just could be like resource downloads or something. It's kind of the main conversion action that we wanted to target. Is that right?
Yeah. So whatever that conversion action is, like not too much on the resource download stuff, but if there's a Gartner report,
Hmm.
downloading that, anything that would lead to an MQL in our clients' CRMs.
Got it. Yeah, that's really cool. Um, any other advice for our listeners wanting to start trying, to test smart broads? Like, is there anything in terms of the ad group structure? Do you still want it tightly themed ad groups with the broad matches, or how would you set that up?
Keep it still tightly themed. The way that I like to group the ad groups is doing it by single intent.
Okay.
So try to think about what's the intent behind these keywords, and if they all have the same sort of single intent,
Hmm.
then they could theoretically all share the same sort of ads. So uh, don't overthink it. Don't do single keyword ad groups. That is not how you do it with smart bidding. Smart bidding needs doesn't work well with single keyword ad groups. So just pair it up with tightly themed intent groups.
Hmm.
Add in a responsive search ad to ETA ads, um, and you should be good. And also, when you're selecting what target CPA, what the actual amount is,
Hmm.
use uh, the amount that Google is recommending, because that number that they're giving you, like it might be a little bit higher than what your actual target CPA is, but that's them saying, hey, we think that our machine learning can reach this for you. So use that as a starting point, see if you could hit that. And then as you run the campaigns, you'll start to work on the ad copy, start to work on the post click, and eventually you can get those CPAs down a little bit more.
Yep, that makes a lot of sense. And I think we were talking before this about how you can even take it to the next level with offline conversion tracking, right? If you are importing conversion actions from Salesforce into Google Ads and you wanted to use a smart bidding algorithm towards increasing MQLs or SQLs or whatever milestone you're going for, this becomes even more powerful because you have that reach, but you're also automating towards a KPI you value the most. So yeah, I'm gonna hop out of this diagram here. And yeah, any last things to add about Smart Broad?
I think we covered most of it. Definitely give it a shot. I mean, with all the news on the keyword changes, expect more changes in the future. I'm just calling it 2 years from now, you're not going to have any match types. So better get ready for using broad keywords. And Google's smart bidding algorithms, they're only going to get better. So adopt it. Don't try to fight back against Google. That's not how it works. Yeah, just give it a shot. You'll be surprised with how it performs.
Nice. Yeah, thanks for that advice. And if anyone needs help on setting this up or has any questions, feel free to ask questions in the comments. We also have a guide on our site about this. I'll make sure to link to that. But thanks so much, Josh, for joining us, and we'll catch everyone next time.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Peace.